Joe Burrow to the Rams? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and if you want to support every single episode of Locked On Rams, hit that like button, drop a comment down below. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 Sports, Bleacher Report, Sports Illustrated, Dodgers Nation, the LA Sports Report, and today I'm flying solo the People Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. He will be back Monday. But on today's episode, we got a jam-packed show. We're going to have some fun with this one because you got the keys to beating the Lions. We got a final injury report, some key matchups. We'll also talk about Joe Burrow and the possibility of being the Rams quarterback down the line, having some fun with that on a Friday. So let's get right into that injury report. Now, final practice on Friday was a light practice for the Rams, and the only player that's on the injury report is wide receiver Davante Adams. And Byron Young did get the day off. Alec Jackson did get the day off. They were resting, but everyone else practiced in some capacity. And Davante Adams does look to play. Sean McVay said that he is expecting Davante Adams to play, but he would say that, hey, he would be very surprised if the star receiver doesn't suit up. So questionable, likely to play in my eyes, and from an injury standpoint, they're really in good shape heading into this one. The Lions are going to be without Kirby Joseph. He had a setback with his knee injury. You're not going to have Brian Branch, who tore his Achilles last week. He's out for the season. That is big for the Rams receivers. The defense for the Lions has been suspect all season. Brian Branch is someone that's really important to their secondary. Also, starting left tackle Taylor Decker, he's questionable with a shoulder injury. And their wideout, the return specialist Khalif Raymond, with an ankle. So the Lions, they've rolled out 2 players, and they have 7 as questionable. So that is pretty extensive for the Lions. And on the Rams end, only one whose game status is questionable is Davante Adams, dealing with that hamstring injury. He was limited at practice. Of course, you got Darius Williams, you got Byron Young, you have Alec Jackson. They're on the report, but they're going to be fine. And then Tutu Atwell, full participant, but not off that injury reserve yet. Okay, so before we get into some keys, before we talk about the Lions once again, I've had a lot of you DM me. A lot of you hit me up on social media. D-Mac, what about Joe Burrow for the future? And first and foremost, I am a massive Matthew Stafford is the Rams quarterback, and as long as he continues to perform at this level, he should be the guy under center for the Rams. And look, the only thing that would change that potentially would be, knock on wood, of course, that he suffers an injury that would be a major setback, or he wins the MVP, wins a Super Bowl MVP, wins a Super Bowl, and hey, who knows? He rides off into the sunset as a Super Bowl champion. I still think he has a lot of football left in him, and Matthew Stafford says that he is expecting to play next season. So I think right now, there's a significantly higher chance that he plays next year than not playing. I think that he loves this game too much. He knows he's still better than the vast majority of quarterbacks in this league. And look, he's a $50 million quarterback. That is what he is at age 37, putting up MVP numbers. So I expect him to be back. But look, I'm a DJ that's playing the hits here. It's not 102.7 KISS FM or anything like that. But a lot of people, the comments, the chat, we are going to be launching an Everydayers Club pretty soon. A lot of people want to talk about Joe Burrow because of Joe Burrow's situation with the Cincinnati Bengals. And it's getting dark. It's getting ugly. Joe Burrow said that he's not having fun playing football for the Cincinnati Bengals anymore. He said to reporters this week, quote, if I want to keep doing this, then what am I trying to do with myself? And I have to have fun doing it. You know, if it's not fun, then what am I doing it for? So that's the mindset. Do I have fun playing? Burrow asked while he was in this press conference. Do I have fun playing? He said, quote, I mean, how much? Winning's always fun, but in general, was it fun as before? No, I wouldn't say it was that way. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals have absolutely failed Joe Burrow. He has been sacked again. It's pretty wild when you look at pass protection in Joe Burrow. This is where the Cincinnati Bengals have been ranked when it comes to pass protection in the NFL as a whole. 2020, they were 29th. 2021, 30th. 2022, 30th. 2023, wow, 27th. 2024, 32nd. 2025, 28th. So you look at that entire way, you are dead last in the NFL since he's been a quarterback when it comes to pass protection. The sacks that he's taken, where he's been at in his career. So the first thing you need when it comes to being able to acquire a quarterback, which is never easy, the Rams have shown how to do it, is a quarterback either wants to go a different direction, it's an untenable situation, and for Joe Burrow to kind of plant that flag and say, hey, I'm not happy in Cincinnati. If I'm the Vikings, if I'm the Steelers, if I'm the Falcons, the Jets, the Raiders, there's so many different teams that would have an upgrade at that position if you were to acquire a Joe Burrow. But when you look at his trade situation, if they trade him after this season, they would have $56.5 million in dead money. That's nothing when you look at the grand scheme of things for trading a franchise quarterback in 2025 and 2026. They wouldn't save any cap space, but they would save $25 million in 2027, and then you would also get a bunch of assets to start that rebuild moving forward. So it would make sense for the Bengals if they feel like they are going to consider turning the page and you just accept the fact that, hey, yes, Joe Burrow's a great quarterback. Yes, Jamar Chase is a great receiver. Yes, you have T. Higgins, but maybe they feel like it's an untenable situation, like I said, and Joe Burrow's not happy. So if you don't have a happy Joe Burrow and you're basically getting him killed out there, it's definitely not going to be a fun situation for that quarterback. And you look at teams like the Vikings, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Jets, the Raiders, Steelers. There's a lot of teams out there that would be better off with Joe Burrow as their quarterback than what they currently have. Now, when it comes to the Rams, it's a very simple situation. If Matthew Stafford is coming back next year, then there is no conversation to be had about Joe Burrow because he probably gets traded sooner than later. It might happen this offseason. And if Matthew Stafford, coming off an MVP season, wants to continue to play at age 38, of course, that's what you're going to do. He doesn't have the guaranteed money, but they're going to work something out like they do every single year now, where it feels almost like a season-by-season partnership with the Rams and Stafford, where both of those parties, if they want to go in a different direction for whatever reason, it's something that would not be difficult to accomplish. So really the only way that Joe Burrow is a Ram is if Matthew Stafford retires or decides for whatever reason you want to play for another team, which I don't think that he would. I think that the Rams are going to be his last team in the National Football League. He's got a great partnership with Sean McVay and this ownership group. He knows this organization gives him the best chance to win. He's comfortable here. He loves Los Angeles. A lot of reasons for that. Having said that, the Rams do have the draft capital. They do have the destination type of franchise that, hey, if you want to do right by Joe Burrow, let's not forget, Baker Mayfield said that he got his joy back, his fun back. He fell in love with football again playing with the Rams. So if there was one organization that could make you start to have fun again, it would be the Rams. Because you know how I spell fun? It's W-I-N. And the Rams win, and they also understand the value of keeping quarterbacks vertical and upright, and you're not going to finish most likely 30 or 32nd in the league when it comes to pass protection. It's not going to happen here with the Los Angeles Rams. So, look, I hear people out there, D-Mac, what about Stetson Bennett? Look, I can tell you from sources that that's not their plan to have him be the success for Matthew Stafford. So anyone saying that is wish casting that. That's not the Rams' plan. I mean, if they thought that, why wouldn't they have him as a backup quarterback instead of Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So, look, my goal here is to talk about things that are actually possible, and that would require a lot of things to happen for the Rams to get there. Let's just put it that way. And I love Stetson Bennett. I think he's good in his role, but let's not speculate and try to make things happen that if the organization doesn't want that to happen. I trust the organization that's the best in football, in my opinion, or at least in the conversation, and that's certainly not a part of their plan. But Joe Burrow to the Rams, look, I've seen the jersey swaps. He definitely has the star power that would sell jerseys, move the needle. Looks like a movie star. I could see him courtside Laker games, but I would take Stafford next year over Joe Burrow because I think Stafford still is a Super Bowl winning quarterback at this stage, and he doesn't look like he's slowing down or going to enter that wash territory anytime soon. But if he's gone, I would love to see Joe Burrow as a Ram. It definitely would be something that would be exciting to pursue. But coming up next, we're taking a deeper dive into this Lions versus Rams matchup. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. Guys, it's 2025, almost 2026, and those days of waiting for something to become a full-blown emergency before you see a doctor, they're over. No more walking it off for 6 months. No more pretending that weird shoulder stiffness is just sleeping wrong. It's time to take your health seriously, and ZocDoc makes that easier than ever. Because staying healthy is more than hitting the gym or eating right. It's about actually getting things checked out when something feels off. And there's a lot of things I really love about ZocDoc. Using ZocDoc makes scheduling easier. Search for in-network doctors and book right in the app. You got the right appointment times. They're listed, including same-day visits. No more back-and-forth phone calls or waiting weeks to be seen. And it's super helpful for routine checkups and those little issues you've been meaning to get checked out. It lets you compare providers using real patient reviews, not ads, and makes it simple to keep your health a priority, even with a busy schedule. I've used it to schedule appointments quickly when I didn't want to wait weeks. It helps you stay on top of your health before something becomes a bigger problem. The app is quick, it's clean, and honestly removes all stress of finding the right doctor. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and get the care you need. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book your top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Car shopping should feel exciting, not confusing. And with Car Gurus, you get the confidence you deserve. They cut through all the noise so you can actually see the best deals on the cars you want. Because when it comes to a big purchase, you deserve the best deal. And Car Gurus makes the whole process simple by giving you real information, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else, so you can shop the way you want. Use Car Guru's deal ratings to compare cars quickly without having to guess whether the price is fair. You'll love being able to filter by everything: mileage, trim, features, so you're only seeing cars that actually fit what I need. I love that about it. Their price drop alerts are a lifesaver. You get notified the second a car you're watching becomes a better deal. The in-depth vehicle reviews help you understand what ownership actually looks like, not just how the car looks online. Having verified dealerships and upfront pricing makes the whole thing feel transparent and stress-free. Car Gurus connects you with the trusted dealerships for a transparent and hassle-free buying process. With over 4 million listings, the most of any major automotive marketplace, you'll always find the best deal. Shop the way you want with tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at CarGurus.com. That's CarGurus.com, CarGurus.com. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Big shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching, listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. Now's the perfect time to join that Everyday Listeners Club. Hey, all you got to do is watch, listen to every single episode of Locked On Rams, the #1 daily Rams podcast. All right, some more keys to victory, some more key matchups. Well, first thing you want to talk about for the Rams, interior pressure on Jared Goff. That's how you attack Goff. With no pressure, Jared Goff, third in the NFL in EPA per dropback at 0.43. Under pressure, a negative 0.43. So basically polar opposites. So when the Rams get pressure up the middle and they force Jared Goff to throw it in the dirt, when you look at the passer ratings, when you look at how effective he is, every single metric will tell you that getting to Goff up the middle gives you the best chance to win this game. So I expect them to try to get the ball out quick, because I think one thing that Chris Shula does really well, and one of many things he does really well, is he knows how to mix up pressures. And if you see some twists, if you see Jared Verse going full stand-up linebacker on third down and you can rush him through the interior and do some creative things like that, I think that's one way where you keep them off balance. We saw that against the Vikings and the Lions, them using similar situations like that. I think, too, Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner, I'm looking for big games from both those guys to really help the Rams take control of this one early. Now, for the Rams to stop them, Jahmyr Gibbs is a problem, especially when it comes to crossing routes. And we know that this is a great Rams team when it comes to how they've been able to stop teams defensively, especially elite running backs, right? Saquon Barkley averaged 2.6 yards per carry. Jonathan Taylor had his really worst game of the season. I mean, yes, there was a hold there, but they did very well against him. Christian McCaffrey, 2.6 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. One big difference about the Rams this year is they have not allowed explosive to RBs. Gibbs is the final boss this year when it comes to explosive running backs. And he's got a 0.28 missed tackled force per attempt. That leads the NFL. Also, yards before contact, he leads the NFL. And those two stats right there tell you that he can get loose. And it really is going to be a big game where Jalen McCullough, Josh Wallace, guys like that get involved, making sure that they're getting to Gibbs and making that tackle. This is a game where you need a big Nate Landman game. He's got to be all over the field. You're going to be missing Quentin Lake for sure, but the Rams have done a really great job this year in not only stopping the run, but eliminating big explosives and specifically preventing running backs from getting big receiving games, from big receptions, wheel routes, little screen passes, things out of the backfield. This year, the Rams are holding opposing running backs at 34.3 receiving yards per game. And you look at that definitely you want to see improve. That's a lot of yards for receiving. So that's kind of one area that's been an area that they have kind of not been great at, and they've been great stopping the pure run. When it comes to receivers, making them receivers, that's an area where they have gotten burned a couple times. So that's definitely something that you have to consider significantly in this one. And another thing too is, look, red zone, fourth down, third down. The last couple of games against the Lions, the Rams 2 for 8 in the red zone. And they also were allowing fourth down conversions on the other end. And the Rams have been one of the best teams in the red zone this year. You're looking at a team that scored a touchdown 66.7% of the time when they're in the red zone. That's tied for the third best in the NFL with the Detroit Lions. And the Lions, they're 23rd in red zone defense. So one thing I'm really looking forward to in this game is breaking that red zone curse that we've seen the Rams have all throughout this season. I mean, not throughout the season, all throughout their matchups with the Detroit Lions. This is a perfect opportunity to say, hey, that's behind us. This is a different team when it comes to execution. They haven't seen the Rams with Devontae Adams. So the Lions, too, another big key, stop them on fourth down. The Rams have done a good job this year against that, but the Lions, they've gone for it on fourth down 25 times this year. That's the 7th most in the NFL. And you know that if they're across the 50, if it's a short yardage situation, that Dan Campbell is not afraid to roll the dice. They do that. And that's usually a way to determine whether or not the Lions are going to have success or not. Against the Eagles, they went 0 for 5 on 4th down. Packers on Thanksgiving, 0 for 2. They're going to roll that dice, but you got to have it come up snake eyes. So a big key there. And I think the Rams, they have such an advantage with Matthew Stafford on offense. He has spread the ball around. Since week 10, the Lions, they've given up a 254.8 pass yards per game. That's the third most in the NFL in that stretch. And they're out Joseph and Branch. So, look, I mean, Terrion Arnold's out. I mean, they're a bad secondary. They're an injured secondary. There's no reason why the Rams can't put up points, and I think they will. In the next segment, we're going to talk about a player the Rams could draft that could be a game changer for taking this defense to the next level, and I'm throwing out my score prediction. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. This episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports. Bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes, it's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks has added an extra layer of excitement to the holiday sports, too. It's creating a lineup that takes less than a minute, and the app makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. You can choose from a huge range of unique stats, fantasy scores, field goal attempts, free throws made, turnovers, whatever fits your strategy. The early payout feature is a great bonus, too. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to cash out early. And the new Stacks feature lets you choose the same player up to 3 times in one lineup, like more on a QB's passing yards, touchdowns, and rushing yards. And you can get deposits and withdrawals. They're quick and easy, which keeps everything flowing. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 off in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 off in lineups. $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Let's get into it in the third segment, talking about the draft. It's never too early to talk about the draft. They can talk about the draft 24/7, 365, because that's where championships are built. That's the lifeblood, the foundation of the franchise starts in the draft. Look at this year's team: Jared Verse, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, list goes on. Puka Nacua. This team is where they are because they've drafted and developed well. So I think it's always worth talking about. And Todd McShay, in his latest mock draft, he has the Rams taking Caleb Downs. He's got them taking Caleb Downs with their first of their 2 first-round picks. And could he be available where they're picking? That remains to be seen. Of course, the Falcons' pick is going to most likely be a top 10 pick, so it's very possible. Here's what he had to say about the Ohio State safety. Quote, "Watching Downs operate on film reminds me of a young Troy Polamalu with Ed Reed's processing speed. He simply sees things other defensive backs don't. This is the type of defensive chess piece coordinators dream about. Capable of aligning anywhere from deep safety to slot corner to linebacker depth, his football intelligence allows him to serve as a defense's brain, while his rare athletic gifts enable him to be its heart. He will step into an NFL defense from day one as a culture-changing presence who elevates the play of those around him." That is very, very high praise. And I think, look, I've watched a lot of Caleb Downs this year, and I always look at top 10 picks as this. And it's a cliche to label guys this, but I do think that it applies to Caleb Downs. And that is that he's a generational talent. He's a generational talent because it's immediate instant impact. It's elite leadership, elite skills, physicality, versatility. I think that's what the Rams would love too. You could star him. You could put him back in safety spot. He's got great physical traits. He's got great football IQ. This guy is the real deal. Go watch Caleb Downs, and you'll see that this is a guy that has all-pro potential. First-team all-pro, multiple years. He's a safety, though. I mean, it kind of that's the only thing. But he's played every position in the secondary, inside the slot, outside the boundary of the box, safety, free safety, and the star position. To put it, I don't like to throw this out there on top of everything else, but he's got some unicornish elements to his game because of that versatility. So there's no doubt about it. I'm in on it taking Caleb Downs. I mean, full. I'm a Bruin, but my mom's a Buckeye. She makes me watch a lot of Ohio State football, and when I do, I tune into the Scarlet and Gray. And one of the things that's most exciting is watching guys like Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Julian Sam. But defensive side of the football, Caleb Downs is an absolute 10. I mean, he is someone that I think that he could potentially end up being the very best player that comes out of this draft. So high praise for sure. And he does bring a puzzle piece element to the Rams, too, where he's a need. So, look, I think this is kind of one of those things where the fact that Warren McClendon has played the way he has, do you need to go out there and rush to get a right tackle? The fact that Matthew Stafford's playing the way he is, do you need to go out there and package picks to get a quarterback? I think the answer is no, right? Whether it be Joe Burrow, whether it be someone in this draft. So I think that the internal options have worked out to the degree where now it's like you're playing a little bit of house money here, where it's not, we're just forcing these into areas of need we thought we were going to have to address. It's no, let's get the best football player available. Now, I do think that you could look for a playmaker, something like that, but, I mean, imagine solidifying that part of this defense. Imagine Downs and Verse and Young and Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk as your core on defense. I mean, this is a defense that's holding teams less than 20 points per game, and I think along with remember one of my bold predictions to start the year was this would be the first time since 2001 the Rams would have a top 10 defense and a top 10 offense. Hey, your boy D-Mac was right. Hey, listen to your boy. And I think that moving forward, though, you could veer towards the defense being the true foundation of this team with the crazy high upside talent that you got. And you got both that on both sides of the ball, right? You got an all-pro in Puka Nacua. Devontae Adams could potentially be back. The offensive line has performed very well. Blake Corum is emerging. Kyle Williams under contract. Really, is this roster just a better quality roster than we've seen it? So I really like, and I'm very intrigued about the idea of Caleb Downs as a possibility. Go watch his highlights. If you're bored this weekend, I highly would recommend going and watching his highlights, Caleb Downs. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Hit that like button. Podcast listeners, write us a review. We'll read it on the show. Rams taking down the Lions at home this week. We know what's going to happen. Matthew Stafford's going to be in his bag. Sean McVay is going to get continue that momentum that we saw from last week. My final score prediction for the Rams-Lions. That defense is kind of cooked. I think the Rams got to score points. I think they're in the 30s again. We'll go 33-27 Rams. I know that's kind of a lot. I can see 33-27. I'm hoping they hold that offense to less points, but let's just say 33-27 because these teams play each other very tight, and the Rams are playing for a playoff clincher, and then you got the Seahawks the following week on TNF, and then the Lions, they don't want to really damage their playoff chances and really start to make you wonder if this year is going to be a setback for them. So they have a lot to play for as well. But that's going to do it. Go Ramley. See you guys on Sunday for the postcast. Myself, Gavin Carlson, and Michael Brockers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams House.